What's up, guys? It's the Bluebloods, and we're back after a short break. We took the end of last week off to wrap up the season, but we're back. We're starting a new series here on the Bluebloods called The Best of 2020. We're wrapping up the best of this entire season, and it's recent. We're starting at the end and working our way backwards, apparently. We're going to start with the Best of 2020 Bowl Season Edition. We're breaking down the best of the bowl season, the biggest upsets, the worst performances, statement wins, best game, MVP. And of course, we got to give y'all our opinion on which bowl game that was canceled do we want to see most, because we missed out on a lot of great games this offseason. We have Senior Bowl coverage coming up, but we had to wrap up the season with the bang. So make sure to tune in 2 times a week to catch the best of 2020 right here. But let's go ahead and kick off bowl season, starting with the biggest upset, Brandon. Man, we saw a bunch of teams that normally wouldn't get into bowl season pull off big victories. There's a lot of candidates here for biggest upset, but which upset, or maybe even two upsets, did you think deserve the spot of the biggest upset of the 2020 bowl season?
So I only had one here, but it was a game that we both chose the higher ranked team, the team with the better record, to beat a team that normally wouldn't have gotten into a bowl game. Period. And I don't know if that's because the team that ended up winning is just better, or if the favorite in this game just played an awful game. Because I think both are kind of the case in a way. Um, but I've got Mississippi State pulling off the upset against Tulsa in
I
the
like
Armed
that.
Forces Bowl. And this is one that I mean, like I said, going into it, Zach and I both chose Tulsa. Tulsa was rolling. We talked about how their only losses on the season, which is Cincinnati in their conference championship game, and to Iowa State, or I'm sorry, to Oklahoma right there at the beginning of the season. Um, and so, like, this was a team that we thought, they're ranked 24 in the country. They could definitely be ranked higher. Maybe they deserve to be ranked higher. There's certain teams that the committee's taking liberties with and giving the benefit of the doubt to, but Tulsa just kind of like lies low. They're not really in I mean, they're in the AAC, so it's not like a super high profile conference, and it's not a conference apparently that the committee wants to put into the playoff. Um, but maybe they're really good, and we just don't know. And then they played against Mike Leach and Mississippi State, and it would turn out that they're not good because Mississippi State's not good. Before this game, Mississippi State had 3 wins. They finished the season off with 4 wins. This is a 3-win team making the playoffs, which, by the way, has never happened before this year. They had to make exceptions for Mississippi State to get into the Armed Forces Bowl this season. And then Mississippi State somehow, they had the brawl. They ended up winning this game. And they were leading for like a majority of this game. Like most of this game, they were in the lead, and it kind of seemed comfortable.
Yeah. I mean, they won the game, and arguably they might have won the brawl, depending on how you look at it. I guess it depends on what you prefer in a brawl. The kid who kicked the Tulsa player laying on the ground, you didn't win anything. You
No,
get the clown award, because how you kick somebody already on the ground and then run away. I don't want to hear it. But I mean, Brandon, I mean, you say Mississippi State dominated the game, but Tulsa outgained them by 200 plus yards. They had over 10 more first downs. They dominated time of possession. I mean, the fact that they lost this game is mind blowing. And you look at, what happened, those 2 field goals in the second quarter where they had 2 11 play drives over 4 minutes, and they came away with field goals, really cost them the game here. Plus, they got into the red zone again, Brandon, in a 90-yard interception return for a touchdown, put Mississippi State up by 8 at that point, and I just don't think they ever could get it back. Plus, they had a failed 2-point conversion in the fourth quarter, which ultimately was the difference in the game. So I think Tulsa was the better team here, but this is almost, if you look in the dictionary, this should be the definition of biggest upset, or just upset in
right.
general, because Tulsa played better the entire game, and just 1-2 mistakes really cost them the game here.
Yeah, that and turnovers, everything else. I mean, it was a tough performance. And then, like you said, they lost the brawl. If you kick a guy on the ground and run away, you lose the brawl immediately. That's just how that straight to prison is where you should go if you do that.
And then he bragged about it on Instagram Live. Like, what are you doing? Come on,
We
man.
gotta
Do
have a talk.
better. Do better. But, Brandon, I'm going to stay in the state of Mississippi for mine. I have Ole Miss upsetting number 11 Indiana in the Outback Bowl. The fact that you had another 4-5 team out of Mississippi from the SEC come in here and beat the 11th ranked team in the country. It just blows my mind. I mean, Brandon, they were up 20-6 at one point in the fourth quarter, and it took a big comeback by Indiana to make this even look close.
Yeah, Indiana's one of those teams. They're a big comeback team, or like a big almost comeback team,
I
at
mean,
least this season.
yeah, at least this season. But you give up almost 500 yards to Ole Miss. You got 2 turnovers. You let them just ball out on you. I mean, Tuttle did not have a very good game. 200 yards and interception. Matt Corral. Listen, Brandon. I mean, me and you watch a lot of SEC football. This kid is a baller. If there ever was one at Ole Miss, I mean, 340 yards, 2 touchdowns. We've seen this kid do it to defenses way better than Indiana. He did it to Alabama. He did it to LSU. He's done it to Auburn. He's done it to everyone they played. And he made enough plays down the stretch to win. And listen, I know their starting quarterback was out, but as the number 11 team in the country, you can't go into that Outback Bowl and lose to a losing record Ole Miss team.
No, you absolutely can't.
That is it just blows my mind. Now, I think Indiana, if I'm not mistaken, Brendan, was ranked in the top 10 during this game. I think they fell to 11, but I believe they were in the top 10, weren't they?
I think that they were 11 actually.
That's real tough, isn't it? That's a
Yeah.
bad look. I mean, you look, and Brandon, I don't know about you. This is the best of 2020. If we had a best of 2020 teams I'm looking forward to next year, a healthy Indiana team is on that list. I am so pumped to see Indiana healthy, and hopefully, everyone can come back from injury, because I think this team was a New Year's Six team at full strength.
Yeah, and it's starting to look like Tom Allen's going to stay put. Maybe not, but
Huge win
probably.
right there. That's a huge win
Yeah,
right there.
it is, man. That's just a guy that people want to. I mean, I'm not joking. That's a guy that people want to play for, honestly.
Would
So
you
yeah,
trade Coach O for Tom Allen?
no, but I would like to have him on staff. We're still looking for a defensive coordinator. I don't even know if he's a defensive coach. I would like that though if we can get that done.
He said, Tom Allen, whatever you specialize in, please bring it to the Bayou.
I don't care.
But,
I don't care if he's a special teams coach. I'll hire him at DC.
ooh, fair
Yeah.
enough, fair enough. But let's move on here. We're going to get, even more down in the dumps here on the Blue Bloods. We have the worst performances. Now, these could be full team performances, coach performances, player performances, Brandon. But I'll kick it off since I meant you go first last time. We'll try to snake draft it almost, where I don't have to just put you on the spot every single time. I have the entire team here of the Florida Gators, Brandon. I
Yeah.
mean, good Lord. You can listen, you could put Kyle Trask on this list. You can put Dan Mullen. You could put, if we had the worst of 2020, this Florida defense might be number one in my book. Are you
Yeah.
kidding me? You give up 684 yards to Oklahoma. You have 3 turnovers. I mean, Brandon, there was a point in the game, I believe, it was 38-0 run for the Oklahoma Sooners.
Right.
Are you
That's crazy.
serious? Kyle Trask threw for less than 160 yards. He had 3 interceptions all in the first half, and their leading rusher was their backup quarterback.
Yeah, no, it's not great. This Florida team really deflated once Kyle, like every single time that Kyle Pitts is on the field for Florida, they were just a bad team. I mean, I mean, they lost to LSU this season without Kyle Pitts.
Yeah. I
So
mean, that's true. And the thing that just blows my mind about, blows my entire mind about this is I get they have players sitting out, but so did a bunch of other teams that put up, at least spirited performances. Your Heisman Trophy winning or competing quarterback had a 21 QBR.
right, it's tough and a really bad goatee.
It's disgusting. I mean, are you
Yeah,
kidding me?
it is.
It's real bad. And your leading wide receiver had 2 catches.
Right. No, it's.
And I
I
just
don't know what to say.
for me, Dan Mullen should have done better getting his team ready to play. And so I'm putting Florida as my worst performance of this bowl season. I have some other ones, but Brandon, I'm gonna let you knock yours out. Who did you have as your worst performance of bowl season?
I also have a few, but I'll just hit you with the one first. I'm going to go with Clemson, I think, but more importantly, second quarter Clemson, who just let Ohio State jump out to the most gigantically. They let them jump out to a 3 touchdown lead that they never came back from. Um,
It's pretty
you
bad.
know,
It was pretty bad.
well, if you look at the numbers, I mean, and I watched the game, and to me, when I was watching, obviously I watched the game, but when I was watching it, like Ohio State kind of seemed, other than the first quarter, like after the first quarter, it was just dominant by Ohio State. But something about that second quarter, just this Clemson team couldn't catch back up. And if you look at it like by the numbers, if you look at it by each quarter, like they scored identical points in every quarter except for the second quarter where they got outscored 21-0. And I mean that was just like a dagger. I don't know if it was like Dabo Swinney not propagandizing this game enough, or maybe there wasn't enough bulletin board material. I don't know how, because Ryan Day he loves to write bulletin board material. Um, I don't know what it was, but Clemson really dropped the ball here, and they really underperformed. And I wanted to mention this in the one of the biggest upsets, but I figured I'd save it for here. That was like clearly the worst performance for me. Travis Etienne looked awful this game. I don't know. This whole team, something about it didn't look great.
No, I completely agree with you. It's funny because we talked about the storyline before the game, Brandon, about the sign stealing from the Clemson defensive staff. Well, Ohio State purposely ran hurry up and like what is it, the sugar huddles or whatever they're called.
Right.
They purposely ran those so they couldn't steal signals, and look what happened. So maybe there was a little bit of truth to that, beat up. Maybe just a smidge of truth to that, because
Yeah,
once they started doing hurry up, they looked real lost. They looked real lost.
that's true.
So that's something to look for. But Brandon, this one's going to hurt you, and I'm sorry.
Oh no.
My second worst performance are the UCF Knights.
That didn't hurt me as much as it definitely could have, but okay.
They got demolished, Brandon. I mean, that's when you're down 21-0 after the first quarter
Right.
in your home state, pretty much just a home game for you, and you give up 655 yards of total offense, and you were down 49-10 in the third quarter.
Yeah, when the only quarter where when you outscore your the team you're playing against is the fourth quarter when you're already down 49-17. That's not good. That's never been good. And tell me why in the fourth quarter when they scored that touchdown, they went for two. They were down 23-49 and they went for two. So
Hey,
you think you were going to catch up?
comeback season.
It was 7 minutes left in the game, Zach. They went for two.
I mean, and listen, I know Dylan Gabriel had no turnovers, but 21 for 45 for 200 yards is not a good performance for Dylan Gabriel.
No, it's not.
And the leading wide receiver had 67 yards, Brandon. This is a UCF team that has multiple 100-yard receivers week in and week out.
Right.
And they just got outplayed. I wanted to see more. You picked UCF. I was nervous about picking BYU because it was pretty much a home game for UCF. To let a team come into your home state and put it on you like that was just disappointing.
It was very disappointing. I mean, that game, UCF definitely could perform better, especially 2 years or 3 years after their national title run. Like you'd think they'd maybe they'd be able to perform a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, but I got one more, Brandon, but I'm gonna let you knock your next one out. So who do you have as your worst performance?
So my last worst performance is going to go to Nick Saban, just because he's usually very stoic, and I saw a smile sneak out when he held the trophy for those 2-3 seconds when he was holding the national championship trophy.
That
Bad
must mean the
performance.
dynasty's over.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's getting soft. Like he might retire pretty soon.
He's got to keep working, bro, so he doesn't let that boat run out of gas on, on the lake anymore with his team in it.
That's fair.
Oh man, but I do have I'm going back to the SEC just like you, Brandon. I have Auburn. I have everything Auburn stands for. I have Kevin Steele. I have Bo Nix. I have Gus Malzahn because he wasn't even there, but I'm blaming Gus Malzahn. I'm blaming Alan Green, the AD. I'm blaming every coach in Auburn history. I'm looking at you, Tommy Tuberville. I'm looking at Eugene Chiswick. Everyone's getting blamed here. And this was a miserable performance, Brandon. They were down 14 to nothing after the first quarter.
Right. It's bad.
And they
I
had
chose them.
no. Yeah, you did. I chose Northwestern. I knew what was going to happen. Northwestern put up 457 yards on this Auburn team, and they
Yeah.
they had 35 minutes of time of possession. And Auburn's defense made Peyton Ramsey look like Peyton Manning.
Well, I don't know about that.
He had 300 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Peyton Manning, Zach.
I don't want to hear it. Listen, Kevin Steele, you should be ashamed of yourself. I am so glad you're headed to Tennessee where you belong with the rest of those losers. It's time for a new day in Auburn, and I'm so glad you're out of here. That game was embarrassing, and I don't want to talk about it again, but you deserve the worst performance. You get the dunce trophy. You are garbage, and that whole team needs to be thrown in the trash.
Okay. I mean, that's wow. Zach has very strong feeling.
I have
Zach is
strong.
calling Zach is now a Big Ten fan. He thinks the Big Ten is the best conference in college football because of this
No,
game.
no, Pac-12. We're going Pac-12.
Pac-12.
We're Pac-12 fans now, but no, we're AAC fans. As much as we stand the AAC on this podcast, we're going to be AAC fans. But
Fair.
I'm a big statement there by me in terms of Auburn. Let's move on to something else. A statement win, Brandon. What team or teams had a statement win this bowl season?
I'll tell you who did, Zach. The team that had the biggest statement win, in my opinion, had to be. I have two. Should I be serious or should I joke? I'm going with UL, the Louisiana Raging Cajuns, Zach,
Boo.
over UT. Dude, they finished their season with one loss.
They
The
faced
year at
University of Texas San Antonio, who was missing like half their team and their head coach.
at least they won their bowl game,
And they
unlike
choked
Coastal
it away,
Carolina.
almost choked it away.
They almost always choke it away, but the key is that they don't. And they
That's
didn't.
fair enough. That's fair
But
enough. I'll give you that.
my serious one, Zach. My serious statement win had to be Georgia over Cincinnati.
Yeah.
This Georgia team has put something together. The first three losses this season were tough. We were all talking about, what is Georgia missing? Turns out it was JT Daniels, the quarterback, is what they were missing. And ever since he's been in, this team has looked incredible. And look, that even though they had a 3-loss season this year, even though that's not
It's just
great,
a 2-loss, bro. Well, where's that third loss coming?
I thought they had 3 losses.
It's 2. It's Bama and Florida.
Well, even though they had those 2 losses, maybe I was chalking up maybe it was like how I call that Arkansas game a loss for Auburn, maybe something like that. I don't know, but anyway, even though they had these 2 losses, even though this was the year that people were thinking that Georgia might be able to win the SEC, I think that there's at least something hopeful about being able to beat Cincinnati, one of these teams, another one that Zach and I both picked in this game. This team that some people were arguing should be in the playoff. Yeah, I think that's a great win and definitely a statement going into next season.
Yeah, that was my pick, man. Listen, I know everyone's going to be saying that Cincinnati, that's how that statement when they beat Cincinnati. Cincinnati was a good team. Like, can we please lay off the Bearcats? And for Georgia to do it, Brandon, missing what was it, 6 starters?
Right.
And the way they did it too, they got down, it looked out of reach, and then 14-0 fourth quarter for the Bulldogs. It was amazing. And for that defense, man, the Cincinnati defense was so good all year long. JT Daniels throws for 400 yards.
I mean, it was insane. It was a crazy performance.
It was a beautiful performance, man. I was very, very impressed with Georgia. And listen, if JT Daniels announced he's coming back, this is a team to watch next year, guys. Because I think if they had JT Daniels, those 2 losses go a lot different. I don't think they beat Alabama because Alabama was that good. But that Florida game could have looked real different if JT Daniels was eating up that secondary like everyone else in the country could.
That's a fact.
It's a fact. And I'm going to circle back here, Brandon, because I feel like, we talked about this game on the other side. But for my statement win, man, I know this is going to sound crazy because the other team was missing a lot of players too. I'm going Oklahoma. The way they beat Florida was amazing. I mean, Spencer Rattler, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. And listen, I want to say this: Ramondre Stevenson, is he getting any
Right.
Heisman consideration next year? Because he should.
He should at least be in the talks for sure.
I mean, 18 carries, 186 yards and a touchdown. And then they have a backup who has 9 carries for 110 yards and a touchdown. Both of them averaging over 10 yards per carry. In that defense, man, to make Kyle, I know Kyle Trask was missing his top 3 wide receiving targets, but to make him look as bad as they did was spectacular for me. I mean, that defense has been flying around. And we talked about before the game, Brandon, how good that Oklahoma defense looked down the stretch. If Lincoln Riley can keep this defense together and Spencer Rattler keeps going in that upward trajectory that we've seen him, continue to go since that loss against K-State and Iowa State, this team is going to be one of the best teams in the country next year, and it could finally be the team to get Lincoln Riley to a national championship. So I'm giving this a statement win this bowl season.
I definitely agree with you. And it's crazy because, I mean, when's the last time that we looked at Oklahoma and was like, oh, yeah, their running back might be the best player, and not only on the team, but in the country. That doesn't happen.
How about, I want to give credit real quick, Brian. I know this is kind of off topic. Can we give credit finally to the Big 12 and their improvement on defenses and running backs?
We need to because
I mean,
it's been
just
too
look at
long.
who we have. I mean, look at Texas. Bijan Robinson easily could be one of the best bowl performers this season. So he's a monster. You have Barisi Hall. You had Chuba Hubbard. You had LD Brown as a backup for Chuba Hubbard. You got Ramonde Stevenson. You also had Trey Sermon last year, who look what he just did. The stable of running backs the Big 12 is putting out is very, very impressive to me. And then the defenses, man. You look at Iowa State these past few years, elite on defense. Oklahoma State was carried by its defense this year. Oklahoma had one of the better defenses down the stretch this year. I mean, Baylor last year carried by their defense. I mean, when are we going to give credit where credit's due? I mean, Brandon, the Big 12 defenses outperformed SEC defenses this year.
Right.
So I think we need to talk about that more. I think more people need to recognize good defensive play when it's there. And I think that old saying that the Big 12 doesn't play any defense needs to be wrapped up because these defenses are showing out.
Oh, they absolutely are, especially the past few seasons.
Absolutely. So do you have another statement win, man?
I don't. Those are my 2.
Oh, you are so lame. This is ridiculous.
Sorry.
This is ridiculous. I'm upset. But no, I'm just messing with you. But guys, we're gonna move on here. We got the best game of bowl season. I have 2, Brandon, but I'll let you kick this one off.
I also have 2, and my first one is the same as my statement win. I've got Cincinnati and Georgia. I mean, what an incredible game. The entire game, I was just sitting here. I was texting Zach, like, is this real life? Are we getting this in 2020? Is this how did we get so lucky? This was a great game. I mean, it was crazy. Not only because the reason it was great for me for like the first like little while there was because that's like, oh, Cincinnati's going to win this game. They're the new national champions is what they are. And then the comeback by Georgia, which just made this game even better in a way.
I mean, you look at like both of these teams and like what they accomplished this year is crazy. I mean, you look at just the talent on the field, man. You had JT Daniels, George Pickens, Jerome Ford, Desmond Ritter, Amai Gardner, all those dudes on that on both defenses that are future, NFL picks. I mean, for me, Brandon, okay, like this is going to sound crazy to some people. It almost felt like a playoff game.
Yeah, it did.
And this is going to sound crazy again. With all the talent both these teams have coming back, this could be another New Year's Six game next year, even a playoff game.
Well, if Cincinnati didn't make the playoff this year, I don't know if they ever will. And I hate to say that, but like, come on.
You don't think so?
If I were on the committee, I'd vote for them to be in. But apparently, the committee doesn't want any non-Power 5 team in the playoff.
Okay, so listen, I know Marcus Freeman is a huge loss for Cincinnati. He's on the way to Notre Dame, but you don't think they're going to be preseason top 10?
They might be preseason top 10, but that doesn't mean that they're going to be in the playoff.
But have you seen their schedule next year, bro? Have you seen their schedule?
I haven't. I haven't, but that I mean that is that, okay. You're not like playing into what I'm saying at all. Like you're not hearing what I'm saying. The committee does not want an AAC team in the playoff. If they did, UCF would have been in 2017. If they did, then Cincinnati would have been in this year, but they don't.
Even with road wins against Indiana and Notre Dame, who are probably going to be in the top 10.
You've already won my vote. I already told you that they have my vote, but they won't get in.
Listen, if they win out and they have a road win over Indiana, who's going to be ranked, a road win over Notre Dame, who's going to be top 5 most likely, a win over SMU, a win over Tulsa, a win over UCF, a win at Navy, they deserve to be in, regardless. I
Yeah,
don't care who you are. That is elite company. I mean, that's what, 5 or 6 probably top 25 wins.
right.
And the road win at Notre Dame, if they beat Notre Dame on the road, sign me up.
Sign me up.
I will buy a season tickets to the Bearcats next year. I think we should make a trip to that game. Cincinnati, Notre Dame, Brandon. You're gonna meet me in
I
South
mean,
Bend. We're gonna get there.
if it's safe to travel, count me in.
That's true. That's true. The vaccine, we'll see what happens with that. But Brandon, I feel like the next game, I feel like we both have it. I felt like it was obvious. And that is the FBC Mortgage Cure Bowl, Liberty, Coastal Carolina, overtime game. That was just complete madness.
Yet another brawl. A couple of brawls.
Yes, a couple of brawls.
Yeah,
That's tough.
this was also my best game category. I mean, this game came down to the wire and it was insane all the way through.
If you didn't have this game on your list, you don't know college football.
If
It's
you didn't
just
watch this game,
yes.
turn this podcast off and go watch the replay right now.
And come back to us. I mean,
Yeah.
what a game. I mean, Brandon, we probably saw Hugh Freeze's job flash before his eyes.
Oh, absolutely. No doubt.
I mean, what was that play call?
Bad. If I had to put it into one word, bad.
And what are the odds you have a fumble right there, man? Come on.
Yeah.
It was bad, guys. Hugh Freeze has the chance to pretty much ice the game. He makes a bad play call. The ball's fumbled. Coastal Carolina gets it, has a chance to win the game. They do not. But, I mean, Brandon, if I would have told you Liberty won with Malik Willis throwing 2 interceptions and no touchdowns, you probably would have said, oh, Coastal Carolina by 1,000.
Yeah, probably. Just based off of that, yeah.
And Grayson McCall throwing 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, and rushing for 100 and another touchdown.
Right.
But Malik Willis rushing for 4 touchdowns, Brandon. I mean, listen, these 2 kids right here, Malik Willis and Grayson McCall, especially McCall for me, he's got to get some NFL talk. If Trey Lance can get some NFL hype, Grayson McCall, this kid was a true freshman this year, Brandon, and just straight up balled out. I mean, Brandon, as a true freshman this year, he completed 68% of his passes for 2,500 yards, 26 touchdowns, and only 3 interceptions.
That's absolutely insane.
I mean, he's 6'3", which is great size for the NFL. I think this kid is going to be a future NFL talent. Malik Willis, he's got to refine his passing, but for these 2 teams to be matched up in bowl season, I don't know who makes the bowl matchups or how exactly it works all behind the scenes everywhere, but whoever decided to put these 2 teams against each other should get a raise.
Let's go ahead and give this the FBC Mortgage Bowl a call and congratulate whoever chose these teams.
Bro, they should be a New Year's Six Bowl just for this. That should be their reward. Could you imagine playoff game, no national championship, the Cure Bowl? That'd be legendary, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you looking at this game, man, as the best game of bowl season. Combined over 900 yards of total offense. You had 4 turnovers. The time of possession was separated by like 30 seconds. They combined for 50 first downs. I mean, you had points all over the place. You had talent all over the field, and these offenses balled out. And you had 2 of the most exciting coaches in here. I mean, Hugh Freeze is going to be back in Division I very soon, and Coastal Carolina's coach should be getting calls as well. And the only thing missing was the teal turf, Brandon. That's the only thing that could have made this game more epic.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would have loved that. Maybe they should have like imported some.
just just listen, we're gonna uproot y'all's field. We're gonna take the turf down to Florida. We're gonna let the Gators lay it, and we'll be rolling. Orlando, what a
You
weird
gotta
place,
love it.
bro. Orlando, I'm surprised Orlando doesn't have just wild turf anyway. But yeah, that's
That's true.
that's those two games were shoe-ins. I knew we were gonna have the same, but it's that time, guys. MVPs of bowl season. Brandon, I have two. So I'll kick it off with my first one. And this was going to be unconventional, but let me explain it first. And I'm going to say the name, and I'm going to get y'all to guess. I'm going to get everybody to guess who, like, what team this kid plays on. Okay,
Okay.
Cameron Peoples is my MVP of
Cam
bowl season.
Cameron people. See, this is a bad look for me because I don't know.
He is
I feel
the
like I
running back for Appalachian State.
there we go. Okay. Well, weird. Weird pick.
22 carries, 317 yards, and 5 touchdowns.
Yeah, he probably deserved MVP.
Brandon said, "I'm gonna throw my pick away." Um, as a team, Appalachian State Brandon rushed for 500 yards and 6 touchdowns.
Yeah. Yeah.
They had
No.
two players rush for over 15 yards per carry, including Peoples. This kid deserves it. I know it's unconventional, guys, but Peoples deserved this pick. He's a sophomore from Linville, Alabama, and Brandon, he's been hurt all year. He didn't get to play in the full season, and he showed out big time in this one. I mean, literally, what this was the first bowl game of the season, the Myrtle Beach Bowl, Brandon. First bowl game of this season, and he showed out. I remember watching this game at like 2 o'clock because I was at work, kind of had it on my other screen. And every single time they handed it off to Peoples, the announcer would be like, "And that's a touchdown," and he would get a touchdown. I mean, it was pure domination by Peoples. And listen, I know everyone was waiting for Mac Jones, Devontae Smith, all these big names. I don't care what team you play on, what position you play, if you rush for 317 yards and 5 touchdowns, you deserve the MVP of bowl season. And so my first pick, my number one spot, Cameron Peoples, come get you. We need to send him a trophy. The Bluebloods MVP 2020 bowl season, Cameron Peoples from Appalachian State.
Yeah, I'm in. I'm in on that. So, guys, if you were sitting there waiting for that award that Zach just mentioned to one of the big names, well, you got it here, Devontae Smith. I mean, that's far and away like just like
He's such a monster.
the clear winner of this MVP. Yeah, I mean, good lord, it is so. In his first game against Notre Dame, he only needed 7 receptions to go for 130 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's wild. That shouldn't be legal, but it happened. And then not only that, but then in the national championship game, he had 12 receptions for 215 yards and 3 touchdowns.
In the
Wait for it,
first half.
in the first half before he got injured. So yeah, he's definitely the MVP. He single handedly would have like if he and Mac Jones were the only two on the field, then they would have put Ohio State. They would have given Ohio State a run for their money because that's 21 points right there. Like, that's it. I mean, Ohio State only scored 24 in the entire game. It's not even close. It has to be Devontae Smith was the number one MVP. I mean, he's the Heisman winner. I know it's kind of corny. It sounds lazy. But if you watched him play at all this postseason or at all this year, you understand.
No, I don't think that's a bad pick. I did it because we've already heaped our praise on Devontae Smith. I wanted to give some of these other guys, some other bowl, people some shine because we didn't really get to talk about them as much. But I have another unconventional one, Brandon. This just also was in the first week of the bowl season in the Boca Raton Bowl. I'm giving my number 2 MVP to Zach Wilson. BYU
Okay.
quarterback, 425 yards passing, 3 passing touchdowns, and 2 more rushing touchdowns for a total of 5 touchdowns. And he had a 98.4 QBR.
I mean, that's pretty good. He also got the crap knocked out of him in that last game.
That's true. He did. He got bullied. He got assaulted on the field, but he delivered 26 for 34 too, Brennan. He's accurate. He's efficient. He was averaging 12 yards of a completion, which is pushing the ball down the field. And it was against a UCF defense that played well this year against the pass.
Right.
And he made them look silly. We already talked about, UCF being one of my worst performances. This dude put up major points, and his stats, Brandon, he got taken out in like the third quarter.
How wild is
So,
that?
so imagine if he would have kept playing. This dude would have thrown for easily over 500 yards. Zach Wilson, my number 2 MVP for bowl season, and I don't feel bad about it at all. Shout out to Gunnar Romney for his receiving touchdown too.
If your name is Gunner, then you deserve it. I don't. I have kind of like a runner up, and I know you already kind of talked crap about him in an earlier segment,
I talk crap
but
about him.
yeah, because about his passing, I think what he did on the ground was incredible. Malik Willis scored 4 rushing touchdowns. He
Yeah,
scored four rushing
that
touchdowns
was
in
a
that game.
monster.
Yeah, he had 2 interceptions, but those 4 rushing touchdowns basically won Liberty the game. I'm not.
You don't
I
have
don't
to
know if
say
I
you
can.
don't have to say basically. They won Liberty the game for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, he's my runner-up if I had to give one.
I like it. I like it. So, Brandon, one last segment here before we wrap this up. We had so many bowl games that were canceled this year. Which one was the one that you wish would not have been canceled that you wanted to see the most this year?
So we had a lot of bowl games that were canceled. You're right. But there weren't like a ton that were canceled that already had teams selected. Like there was some that there was one team in it and then it was canceled, or there were a lot that like just the bowl sponsor canceled altogether. Um, so the one that actually had 2 teams selected that got canceled that I wanted to see the most, I guess, had to be Iowa and Missouri. Um, not necessarily a game that I really, really just was dying to watch, but it would have been fun. I mean, it would have been cool to watch this game. I mean, this is a Missouri team that played a lot better than a lot of people gave them credit for this season. They had a lot of pretty close losses. This offense was electric. Iowa was a team that was pretty good this season. They were heating up, especially toward the end of the season. Um, so yeah, I guess that's the one that if I had to choose one to be canceled, just because I don't want to choose Arkansas TCU because I didn't really
Oh,
watch the game at all.
dang. Okay.
Yeah.
You had to come for me. That's actually I picked this topic because of this game.
Okay.
I
Well,
actually was pumped to watch this game. I thought
right.
this was going to be one of the better games of bowl season. I mean, you look at what Sam Pittman made Arkansas into. Arkansas was so scrappy. They all were in almost every game, within reason. No one was, they weren't in a game with, Alabama, but let's give them a break there. But they played hard every single game. I was interested to see Felipe France because he was balling toward the end of the season, go up against Max Duggan for TCU. I was looking forward to see Zachary Evans in that running game. Raheem Boyd for Arkansas was balling. I was actually thinking this was going to be an amazing game. It's going to be one of those old fashioned where, Arkansas and TCU used to play all the time back in the day. So I thought it was going to be a great, redo of the rivalry. I was very excited. And I thought this was going to be one of the closer, more competitive games of bowl season. So I would have loved to see Arkansas potentially get a win in Sam Pittman's first season after what they were for the last 2-3 years under Chad Morris.
Yeah, I know. I know what I said right there toward the end of my part. I was messing with Zach because this was the only other game where there were 2 teams that were picked. So, um, no, yeah. And if you listen to this podcast, if you listen consistently, you remember the preview episode where we talked about these 2 teams and how excited we both were to watch this game. It probably would have been a really, really good game. I hate that it was canceled. That's how things go nowadays.
Is there a team that didn't play in bowl season that you wish you would have got to see play in a bowl game?
Um, Meh. I mean, Army would have been my answer if they didn't get picked up like
Oh,
last second.
if they wouldn't have got picked up, the club would have had to be burned to the ground. We got to storm the NCAA headquarters if that would have happened.
Yeah, maybe UAB would have been a good bowl game. I mean, they were in a bowl and they didn't have anyone to play. So,
Yeah,
but they were scrappy all season. They were pretty good this season. So that would have been a fun team to watch this postseason, I guess. In the
yeah.
Gasparilla Bowl.
I feel that. I mean, also would have liked to see some more Pac-12 teams play. I mean, you look at how many Pac-12 teams opted out. I mean, how much fun would it have been to see USC go up against somebody, or Arizona State with Jaden Daniels, or anyone like that, or even UCLA. Brent, I thought UCLA would have been a great bowl matchup for somebody.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I'm looking at a lot of those Pac-12 teams. Oregon played, but really and truly, most Pac-12 teams just canceled. Colorado played; they ended up getting smacked. But yeah, I would have liked to see a little bit more Pac-12 teams play, to be honest with you, because I thought the Pac-12 needed that kind of boost, even though all the teams that qualified outside of Oregon really weren't in, I guess, position to compete. And then even Oregon had a bad matchup with Iowa State. Um, so Pac-12 looks real bad right now. So next season will be revenge season for the Pac-12, in my opinion.
Yeah, now that you say Pac-12, everyone knows I would have liked to see Keaton cook in the postseason.
You don't want to see your boy LSU play in the postseason?
No, I don't because I don't know if I could have stood another loss. They finished 500 this season, Zach. There's a self-imposed playoff or postseason ban this year. I'm with that. I like that.
Well, okay. If they would have got matched up with UAB, are you taking LSU in that one?
I don't know. I don't know if I can. Maybe.
He said, "I don't know."
I don't know. Well,
He's
not only that, but do you know how many opt like I know LSU's young, but I think there have been a decent amount of opt outs for the playoff or not playoff. They wouldn't have made the playoffs for the bowl game this season.
especially against UAB, bro. Who's getting up for that?
Who's gonna risk injury against UAB
Max
in
Johnson would
the
have been like, "Bet TJ, you got this one."
yeah.
That's a bad look. But guys, this kicks off our first episode of the Best of 2020. Make sure to keep tuning in. We have a whole bunch of Best of 2020s coming up. You know where to find us on social media: Instagram at @the_Bluebloods, Twitter at @the_Bluebloods, Facebook at the Bluebloods Pod, websites thebluebloodspod.com, YouTube, the Bluebloods, or the Bluebloods CFB podcast. You can find us at either. You know where to listen, man. You literally can find us everywhere. Keep spreading the word. Keep telling everybody about us, man. We appreciate all y'all who are listening, man. Season 2 going strong. Season 3 coming pretty soon. So make sure to tune in for that. Stay subscribed, rate the podcast, like the podcast, all that good stuff. We will be back later this week with another episode. But for right now, we out.